In this podcast episode, Dr. Rhonda Patrick delves into the pervasive issue of microplastics and plastic-associated chemicals contaminating our environment and bodies, and the profound impact these toxins have on human health. The conversation touches upon how endocrine-disrupting compounds like BPA and phthalates contribute to the decline in testosterone levels, fertility problems, neurodevelopmental disorders such as autism and ADHD, and broader public health crises. Practical steps to reduce exposure, along with insights on hormone disruption, microplastic inhalation, and lesser-discussed chemical threats, are explored throughout the dialogue. Dr. Patrick highlights that there is substantial evidence pointing to a significant decline in testosterone levels and sperm quality in men over recent decades. The reduction, estimated as high as 50% in sperm counts globally, is closely linked with increased exposure to environmental chemicals commonly associated with plastics. These chemicals include bisphenol A, BPA, bisphenol S, BPS, and phthalates, which interfere with hormonal signaling by mimicking or blocking the action of sex hormones. BPA and BPS, categorized as xenoestrogens, bind to estrogen and androgen receptors, misleading the body's hormonal regulation and suppressing natural hormone production. This disruption results not only in lowered testosterone levels, but also diminished sperm morphology and quantity. Phthalates, widely present in plastics, piping, and personal care products, such as shampoos, lotions, and fragrances, directly impair testosterone synthesis in the testes and interfere with the hormonal feedback loops controlling reproduction. These compounds are linked to developmental abnormalities in male infants, including undescended testicles and genital malformations, which correlate with increased risk for fertility issues and testicular cancer later in life. Studies using large population datasets confirm the association of higher phthalate exposure with lower testosterone levels across different life stages, from adolescence to adulthood. The extensive presence of plastic-derived chemicals in everyday life, from food packaging to hygiene products and beverage containers, has led Dr. Patrick to characterize the situation as a public health crisis. The chemicals not only affect male reproductive health but also female fertility. For instance, higher BPA levels in women undergoing in vitro fertilization significantly reduce their chances of success. The compounded effect of hormonal disruption and microplastic exposure undermines human reproductive capabilities and contributes to the observed declines in birth rates in many developed countries. Dr. Patrick also stresses that heating plastic packaging, such as using to-go coffee cups lined with plastic, drastically increases the leaching of these harmful compounds into food and drinks, sometimes by over 50 times. Such common habits unknowingly exacerbate chemical ingestion and exposure. Beyond chemical exposure, microplastics themselves pose a unique threat. These tiny plastic particles, ranging from visible fragments to nanoscale debris, are consumed with food and water and inhaled from the air. Microplastics carry and release the endocrine-disrupting chemicals they contain, compounding their harmful effects. Studies have detected microplastics in various human tissues, including semen, testicles, and the placenta, with the brain being a particularly concerning site of accumulation. Dr. Patrick explains that microplastics are able to bypass the blood-brain barrier, partly through the olfactory neurons in the nose, which act as a direct pathway for particles into the brain. This accumulation is alarming, given findings of increased microplastic concentrations in the brains of individuals with Alzheimer's disease compared to those without. The inhalation of microplastics from urban sources, such as tire dust, synthetic clothing fibers, and household environments, suggests continuous exposure, reinforcing the need for actions like using HEPA air filters at home. The episode explores scientific evidence linking exposure to BPA and similar chemicals during pregnancy to elevated risks of neurodevelopmental disorders in children, notably autism spectrum disorder and ADHD. Pregnant women with the highest BPA concentrations in urine were found to be 6 times more likely to have children diagnosed with autism by age 11. Animal studies support these observations, demonstrating that prenatal BPA exposure alters brain development and behavior in offspring. One proposed mechanism involves BPA's interference with the aromatase enzyme, which normally regulates estrogen levels critical for proper brain sexual differentiation and development, particularly masculine brain wiring. Disrupted estrogen surges during gestation can lead to abnormal neural connectivity associated with autism. Genetic vulnerabilities affecting aromatase function intensify this effect, illustrating a complex gene-environment interaction. Additionally, research has shown that children with autism often have impaired BPA excretion, leading to elevated body burdens of the chemical. Supplementation with sulforaphane, a compound found in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli sprouts, has demonstrated promising results in clinical trials by aiding BPA detoxification and improving behavioral symptoms in autistic individuals. Dr. Patrick details numerous everyday sources of plastic-associated chemicals and microplastics. Thermal paper receipts, coated with BPA, pose a significant risk, especially when combined with usage of hand sanitizers or creams that facilitate chemical absorption through the skin. Workers frequently handling receipts are advised to use nitrile gloves to reduce exposure. Common kitchen items, such as Teflon-coated non-stick pans and black plastic utensils, are identified as sources of forever chemicals, per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, PFS, which resist environmental degradation and bioaccumulate in the body. These chemicals have long half-lives and are linked to cancer, hormonal disruption, and contamination of fatty foods like dairy, further complicating exposure reduction. The use of plastic-lined to-go coffee cups and tea bags releases microplastics and chemicals into beverages, with heated plastics dramatically increasing leaching. Even glass bottles may contribute microplastics from their lids, although these tend to be larger particles less readily absorbed by the body compared to smaller particles from plastic bottles. Dr. Patrick advocates for reducing plastic use broadly, avoiding heating food in plastic containers, choosing loose-leaf tea over bagged varieties, and being cautious about processed and packaged foods, which often contain higher levels of these chemicals. To reduce exposure, several practical recommendations are offered. The foremost is installing a high-quality reverse osmosis water filter to remove most microplastics, BPA, phthalates, and PFAS from tap water. This filtered water can be carried in personal reusable containers to avoid single-use plastics. Avoiding heating plastic containers and eliminating to-go coffee cups lined with plastic are critical steps. Using glass or stainless steel drinkware and selecting cookware such as cast iron over Teflon-coated pans can limit ingestion of harmful compounds. Increasing dietary fiber intake promotes the excretion of microplastics through feces by encapsulating the particles in the gut. Using air purifiers with HEPA filters helps reduce inhaled microplastic concentrations indoors. Consumers are encouraged to avoid black plastics, which contain high levels of hazardous brominated flame retardants common in recycled electronic waste. Furthermore, eating more cruciferous vegetables or supplementing with sulforaphane can support the body's natural detoxification pathways, aiding in the elimination of BPA and similar toxins. The conversation touches on the societal ramifications of widespread hormone disruption. Declining testosterone and fertility potentially contribute to demographic shifts observed in many developed nations, characterized by reduced birth rates and associated economic and political consequences. There is discussion around why such a clear public health issue has not generated sufficient political action, pointing to the pervasiveness of plastics in industry and daily life as barriers to regulation. The complexity and omnipresence of these chemicals make them difficult to fully eliminate, leading to a call for greater awareness and proactive individual measures. Towards the end, Dr. Patrick emphasizes the importance of omega-3 fatty acids from seafood as a critical but often under-recognized factor for brain and overall health. Supplementation with omega-3s is linked to improved mental health, reduced risk of sudden cardiac death, and extended life expectancy. She acknowledges the difficulty in navigating modern health challenges where many common practices carry hidden risks, and makes the case that simple interventions, like water filtration, avoiding plastic contact with heat, dietary changes, and air filtration, can collectively yield meaningful benefits despite the complex trade-offs involved in contemporary living.